Alright, we are recording. Continuing Titan Quest 2. So I did report the issue I encountered last week. Haven't heard anything back, and there also hasn't been a hotfix, so, I'm gonna see how this goes. I'm just trying to think if there's anything too specific to mention from the news. I do have one thing that I do recognize was actually from last. I don't know why I'm going after. That was actually from last week that I just oh. Yeah, I do recognize it was from last week, but half of last week I took off, and so I was not paying attention to the news and such. So, and that is the announcement from Sony that they are going to cease physical game production in 2028, which is certainly a thing. It's complicated. Hey, it looks like these are actually still doing damage, so I might still have a chance here. So yeah, it is complicated because on the one hand, yes, that does suck. That, you know, we're losing, at least for PlayStation. That's not that one. It's over here. Losing the ability to have the games on the disc. But at the same time, and also I do think that there is a certain level where this does backfire on Sony, but on a technical level, not just public perception. It's like, yeah, this is actually far less significant than some people think or are talking as though it is. Because what I realized is, because like the whole people talking about how, oh, you know, the convenience of that, it's like, you know, of the digital distribution, that's like, you know, we've gotten so used to that they're you know, that people see that as more valuable than the like having it on the disc, having it in your library, being able to share it physically and all that, being able to resell it. And I get that, but there is one very specific technique. Okay. I'm just trying to think of the best way to put this. I am much more aware of and concerned with the physical media movie market, so movies and television, Blu-ray and DVD. Unfortunately, that is still surviving. It's enduring. Can't really say it's thriving, but it still is very much there. And Sony has made some bad decisions with that, by the way. Like, I don't want to mention this. I like Lawrence of Arabia, and they had already put out and stopped production of 4Ks of that. It's like, well, that's annoying. But then, when was it? Was it a year ago? 2 years ago? They did a reissue. Like, oh, awesome, but it was a limited print. I pre-ordered on Amazon, and Sony didn't make enough. So Amazon actually ended up canceling my pre-order after months. Like, in months after I placed the order, which itself was like a month before it was supposed to go up for sale. Now, fortunately, after it had already released, and Amazon was still not sending me the thing, I decided, alright, I'm just going to order it from somewhere else that does have it in stock. I had to pay more, because I got it, the pre-order was at a discounted price. But it still was okay, I can, at least I have it, that, you know, I wanted to have. And then they ended up canceling the pre-order, so it was a good thing I did that. Oh no, it's over. Okay. So yeah, Sony did not, at the time, print enough, make up enough of Lawrence of Arabia. Lawrence of Arabia is considered one of the best films ever made. Okay? Or at least one of the most significant. And they figure, oh yeah, we can have this go out of production? What? Yeah, Sony does make dumb decisions with this. Fortunately, it is only the PlayStation division that is doing this, so not their movie division.
You've done well. I underestimated you. Over and over. I treated you like a mortal. But you never were. So much of my power hums within you now.
Okay, let's also take care of this. Is this, I think... Yeah, because I'm pushing on the, like, PS3 retaliation, aren't I? Or... It's so annoying because it's like, I don't actually know what it is I'm trying to push here. Alright, yeah, let's do that. So now I get this. Okay, I don't want that, because I want the summons to do more, but this is... Okay. That could be interesting. I'm gonna do this mainly so I can push up the conservation. Yeah. Yes, we do need to speak.
Did you really want to rescue Charon? Or did you just end his eternal punishment? I was a fool to ever trust your word. I have no idea who you really are. Answer this. Why did you do it? Why murder my father after swearing to rescue him?
See, I think going with this one, though it is true, he doesn't really like that. Well, he's just gonna be pissed anyway. Yeah, we'll go with that, because it's true, and I don't feel like... I mean, yeah, he was evil, but it's like, I don't think saying that to his face is a good idea.
You tried to blame. I waited 800 years to find a way to... I'm going to kill you and leave your body for the dogs. I'll take my uncle back to safety, but I am done. Let's face your death with honor. If you... I should have killed you in Tangier.
I don't know why he's stuck there, but...
Centaurus!
Chiron does his thing.
Doing I'm going to release you both. You've missed a lot. Instead, he betrayed his word and murdered my father. What? No. The world. Say Godmarked. Your aura. You've been... They told you about what's happening. Nemesis. Kronos. What's at stake? Good. Good. Centaurus. If the god... not quite. She wants to raise Kronos so he can reverse tide before the tyranny of Zeus. Who have you been talking? Whoever I want. Remember that you are not the king of the Centaurs. I... Godmarked. I need to speak to Centaurus in private.
Okay. I don't remember if we got, what's his name?
Have existed.
Him talking. No, I guess not. Right. Oh, yeah, I'm also down. That's a little funny. It seems that guy's still stuck. You know, I'm gonna... set him. There we go. And so I do wonder why that is now working. Since it very obviously was not last week. Because it's not been an update. So I don't know. I do not know. Oh, and I do need to look through these. So, yeah, it's... The thing I feel some people are neglecting with, the physical media disappearing situation for consoles, and let me be clear. I still think it sucks. I still think it's bad. But there is one thing that we need to remember, that if you want physical media to survive, this is the thing that is going to prevent it probably forever now. And that is day one updates. So one thing that I will point out for why we should not, like for movies and television, why streaming is a worse idea than physical media. But this is not true for video games. Netflix and such, they have to pay continuously for a I feel like exploring over here, taking care of this stuff before going back down. Just explaining that. They have to pay continuously to maintain not just one data center, but many. Okay? Because they, not this, because they have to serve the whole world, so they can't just use one. Right? So there's a bunch that have to be maintained, and they have to make sure that they're getting all the files, they have to make sure that the hardware is running, everything. That's expensive. Right? Now, it may seem like, oh yeah, but it's easier in this way or that way. It's like, yeah, but once you make a disc, your expense is done. I mean, maybe you need to pay for, the warehouse or whatever, but that's it. I mean, technically you will still have a server because the images for a lot of the discs are kept on something, so they can be printed up again, made up again. Yeah, why is this now just working? I don't know. Although, I did see before this launched, it did say it did reinstall a Visual Studio thing. So maybe it was actually something with that, because that could be something where it's like, yeah, that I could see that was causing the problem. I really could. Kind of funny that's closed. I guess we need to do something over there to clear it. Now, an issue with that physical media for movies and such is you need them on shelves. Okay, so that's... Yeah, I need to get the other one, which it suggests up there. But that's where something like Warner Archive, I should say. It's not Home Archive anymore. I think it had been named that at one point, but anyway. That provides a nice middle ground. So that is... Okay. In theory, the way this stuff works is... Yeah. Wait. No? Oh, yeah. Okay. Something's going on there, so I can't go back there. I have to sell stuff here. So in theory,
where is that?
You make up a movie or whatever. You want it on Blu-ray. Okay, you need to have pressed up. I'll keep saying print up even though they're not printed. Like say 10,000 to 100,000 discs. Let's just say 10,000. Those now need to be put on shelves and kept there, which may piss off Amazon because you're taking up space in our warehouse. I could go to other things if it's not selling.
He's doing a good. Oh, wonder. In the meantime,
Right,
hope my face is handsome enough.
now that having 10,000 pressed up takes time, takes money, and all that. So it's like, yeah, it is a large one-time cost. Assuming, I would doubt that many places are like paying a little bit to Amazon just to hold things, but you technically have the risk that after a time, stuff that doesn't sell, Amazon actually sells it back, gives it back to you, and you have to issue a refund. That is a real thing. There's a real thing when you have items not selling. A retailer like Amazon may have a contract with you that says, okay, at this point we send them back, and then you have to pay a refund. Okay, so there is risk. It's still it's not a constant thing you have to pay to maintain though, like you do with data centers. Now, what Warner Archive does is they actually are burning those. Those are burned discs. They are professional grade discs, so it's not like what you would get to put into the burner in your computer, assuming you have one. Which, by the way, also Sony, actually maybe a couple years ago now, it was a while ago, they actually stopped the production of consumer grade burnable Blu-ray media. Professional still exists, so what Warner would be using, that still is being made, and also there's other companies that make it as well. But it's like, that makes a lot of sense, because that gives you this middle ground of you can have, you don't have the cost associated with having to make up 10,000 times, because I can believe that for some movies, Warner just makes sure that Amazon has 100 of these on their shelves. And if in a month, 50 of them sell, say, okay, we'll give you 50 more. If in a month it's if they run out of stock, say, okay, we'll make up 120 for you, stuff like that. Or maybe it's okay, 20 sold. You know what? We're not going to give you any more this month because we'll just set the new target for how many are being in stock at 70 or 60 or something like that, right? So you get that flexibility. That I think is a very good middle ground. The issue with, and I know I'm kind of, this game's distract me, I'm just kind of babbling anyway. That's what I normally do. The issue with video games, however, is you can, short of a legitimate error, after you make up a Blu-ray, a movie or television show on Blu-ray, it's done. Okay? You're not doing anything more with that. It is possible that you need to. There have been times where discs have gone out with errors, and sometimes not small ones either. Right? That is real, unfortunately. But that is rare. Okay? Hang on. Is this happening again? Is it the swamp area, maybe? Nope, they are still being damaged. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, so it's like it is physical media in the way that we want to describe it when evangelizing the benefits of physical media, which is that this is what it is. It's not going to change. They can't go in and edit it after. Well, they technically can with Blu-ray. It is part of the spec, but it's still, by and large, it is a complete media, and it's not going to change. It doesn't need to change. Except that's not how video games work, and haven't for a very long time now. It's like they all get day one updates. They all get subsequent updates. They all get season passes. They all get expansions. They all get this. They all get that, right? Such that disc that you got, even if it has the full game on, which in some cases that's not what's happening. It's the disc basically is just a license that the console's able to recognize. It's still not the version that maybe you ever played, because maybe you got to it even just a month later and things got changed. So yeah, it is one of those things. I completely sympathize, and I understand the whole anger, even not just frustration but legitimate anger at these at Sony ending the physical media for PlayStation games. I understand that, but the reality is we've not been playing games off of physical media for a very long time now. So what they're doing, it's not unreasonable. It sucks. I wish it weren't the case, but it's not unreasonable. Just trying to think if there's anything to add on to that, because I think I had thought of one or two other points that do relate when I thought about this previously. Yeah, I mean, so the only way you could actually get back to physical media being like that thing we wish it were would be if somebody would have started enforcing that, hey, guess what? You can't do day one updates. Okay? What is on the disc needs to be true. But that's not going to happen. Everyone has gotten used to day one updates. Developers have gotten used to, oh, we've gone gold, but, you know, there might still be some things we need to fix. We've gotten used to having to download the games and their updates then. I mean, it's... And I feel like there's even been a game where... I don't remember which one it is. And it was a console game. Where, yes, it was all on the disc. But if you... the day one update was basically the whole game again. And it's like that... We have even had that situation happen. I know once. I just can't remember what it is. Plus, there's also the whole games are just getting more and more bloated, which hopefully there will be a swing back on that pendulum. There's also another thing. There's plenty of games that probably never would get physical releases. I mean, I know it's... Oh, God. It's kind of annoying to remember that this is one of those I am old situations. But the Xbox Arcade, how many games came out of that are recognized as great games? Like Super Meat Boy, Shank, I think, was among those. But that's the name, right? But that was like an indie renaissance. None of those were physical releases. Those were all enjoying the fact that they were digital only. So it is also one of those things where it's like, no, indie games are digitally distributed. And that's a lot of the games today, I think. And certainly a lot of the sales. So why should Sony continue to push a format that isn't serving the majority of, well, has technical limitations, isn't serving the majority of what it's selling? I'm assuming that the majority of what, well, maybe it isn't the majority, but I can still believe that there is greater variety of indie games being sold than the major publishing games. Maybe, that, you know, maybe it is, you know, Madden, Call of Duty, maybe those in total are selling more, but that's like, you know, 3 games. Versus, you know, the next 100 or so games might all be indie kind of thing. I mean, it's just stuff that, yeah, it's not going to be available physically outside of very limited runs from a place like Limited Run Games. So I mean, it's just... It sucks. I don't like it, but sadly, the situation we're in, it is very reasonable. One thing, though, I do also want to say, because I'd seen somebody trying to suggest that, like mentioning about, you know, what may replace Blu-ray. I don't think Blu-ray will be replaced, I'll be honest. I suspect, well, my belief that Blu-ray, as far as just the physical specification goes, we're not going to ever replace it because there's not a need to. So... I'm actually not sure why it is the way it is at the moment. But the original specification for Blu-ray was for 25 gig a layer and 8 layers. To my knowledge, we've only ever gone to 3. Okay? Like, maybe there's a handful that have gone to 4. Handful of Blu-rays that have been made where we are actually using 4 layers. What's weird is, if it's 3 or 4, I don't remember which. That last layer is smaller, and I don't know why. Like, it's not a 25 gig layer, it's like a 20 gig layer for some reason. And maybe that is there's diminishing returns as you have to shine the laser through more and more layers. I'm not sure. I mean, I have to acknowledge that that's possible. But in addition to that, we have also... Yeah. It's no longer 25 gig layers. Well, it is for for regular Blu-ray discs, but all the 4K and 4K HDR, UHD discs, all those things, those are actually using, well, no, I take that back. There are some that are not. But many of them are using a modified pitch angle for the data. Meaning, instead of it being 25 gig it's actually 33 gig. Because by adjusting that pitch, it just allows the data, more data, less unused space to be on the disk. Okay, so push up to 33.
How are you?
So you will see a number of, if you were to look at the specifications for various UHD releases, some of them will identify that it's a 33 gig, well, that it's a 66 gig, that it's 100 gig, because 3 of those, yeah, so 3 of those layers, you get to 100. So when it's the fourth layer for whatever reason is not 100, it's not 33, sorry, or 25 here. But in any case, it still is, that's what we're, I think that, and there's still room, there's still room to go. It can have up to 8 layers, and we're at most 4 at the moment. Now, that could have been hey, we got the specification, we don't know how we're going to actually achieve it, but it's in the spec. That's fine, things are like that. But it does, I think that there won't be a need to move to something with a higher density than Blu-ray for this kind of storage, because it's just, to what end? I mean, it's relatively cheap to manufacture at this point. Certainly common and widely adopted. So it's just, yeah, I think before we would see the physical specification change, which it's also, the next thing would have to be like something using ultraviolet light, and it's just, why? There's not going to be the benefit that some would think. Say, oh, okay, we can hit 100 gig on that one layer now. It's like, okay, yeah, that's 3 layers otherwise, but who the hell cares? Because we're not going to see 8K video. Okay, I'm sorry, that's not going to be a thing. Because nobody needs that. And the 8K would be useful for, like, a film projector. Like, straight up, you are projecting this onto a, like, 40, 50, 60-foot screen. And that's... theaters aren't using that. Okay? Theaters aren't using 4K, 8K. Some of them are still, I think, using 1080. So 2K. Because at the distance that you're sitting, you don't see it. You have to be so close to an 8K screen to actually see it. There's no reason to go to that. Yeah, I think we'll see 4K be the top, because 8K is impractical. And if we really end up needing some new standard, because like, oh, but now, even higher bit rates, we need even higher bit rates here, we need this, we need that, I think it would just be okay, we're going to a new codec, and we're going to keep using Blu-rays. You'll still need a new player, because you might not be able to, you might need the better software, and better processing hardware, but why change the lasers? Why do that? Especially after the difficulty with Blu-ray. So when the PlayStation 3 originally released, part of the reason it was so expensive and so hard to find was, and there were jokes about how you had to sacrifice, in order to make the blue laser, you had to sacrifice somebody. Like, it took a soul for every one. Okay, that's how hard they were to make. Now, obviously, we got a lot better at that. And so not only did supply go up, but cost went down. But it still is. That was a major problem. Then you really want to go to another laser technology that's gonna have the exact same issue? Why? What benefit is that gonna actually give us? So yeah, there's also the issue that a lot of the where Sony's most interest in selling is going to be places that have internet, high-speed internet, so it still is like going back. It's easy enough to download the 100 gig. It takes a while. It might still be slower than if they were to read it off the disk, but it's still we can just get that going and it'll be done overnight or something. I mean, I don't like it, but and who knows? Maybe we'll end up seeing not necessarily a I'm not entirely sure how it would work out, but maybe we will see something like Warner Archive with some of these. Like maybe Sony would adopt it, and so okay, fine, you really want the physical edition, we'll do that. Or maybe some publishers, because in theory, publishers can also do this. Where they decide, all right, we'll burn up the disc for whatever version it is. Start putting like the Game of the Year editions onto these things, onto those discs and sell them, so that way they can run off this. Now, true, you need the disc player, which I completely agree with people pointing out that this likely means that we will not be seeing the PlayStation 6 having any of this stuff. I should actually probably win some of that. What? Okay, I didn't realize I had an extra point there. I don't. So I'd seen somebody who said that in their build they like this, and it's like, I don't like that 8.8 seconds. I don't. I mean, true, the bulk of the damage I do is via the summons, but still. There. Yeah, I could see that happen. Where it is a. Gonna let that eliminate things. Where it goes to being a they're burned discs, but it's still, if you don't have the player, if you don't have the drive, then you don't have the drive. And it's also worth noting that is important.
Human! The brand bearers are attacking the sanctuary. Save Thespius!
Because
I've had quite enough.
Basically, mechanical components are more apt to wear and fail than other things, than electronics. So, and you got multiple motors in any optical drive. One to spin the disc, and then one to one that powers moving the laser back and forth. So you always have at least those two, which one of those failing, the whole thing is dead. Now granted, plenty of players, they work, plenty of these drives, they work for years and years and years and years without any issue. That is true. Okay. But it still is, that's a danger. And it's one that can increase costs, because now you can't expect that, oh, you have to do warranty replacements for that, or even just no, we should be replacing it because somebody had this problem. It's also like with AIOs, how one reason that some people will prefer to not use an AIO liquid cooler is because if the pump ever dies, they're just in trouble, because now the heat will continue to build up there, whereas with a
Carrying too much.
yeah, alright. Whereas with a air cooler, you still got big heat sink there that will continue to absorb heat, even if the fans die. Okay? But with an AIO, the fans die. Well, technically, the radiator can still continue to function. I actually had that happen once. But the both the pump dies, you are in very serious trouble then. And it's also, you need to then make sure that the device is large enough to hold the disc.
Easier to deal with that way, yes? Chaos seems to follow everywhere you step. Oh, I need a moment to rest. Go!
There. Alright. I think we do end up getting somebody down there to talk to.
Take them back!
Now, one issue though, yeah, this is in some ways actually what could prove a more impactful reason than some people might be thinking. One reason why Sony should consider not removing the Blu-ray drive from the next PlayStation, and I get this may sound weird, is legitimately so that people can still play their Blu-ray discs. There's probably a good number of people they get the console, and then it's like, that's how I watch my movies. In fact, my brother does that, although he's got an Xbox rather than a PlayStation, but it still is. That's what he uses it for largely at this point. He does also play games on it, don't get me wrong, but that's how he watches his movies.
You'll all regret this when Chiron returns!
So with Sony potentially removing the drive,
We so far would go down without a fight.
that then means that if somebody has physical media, like myself, like my brother, that then we have less.
Undisciplined!
We need to buy something else as well. So it can't. It might not be a Sony product.
An end to you all into Gia! They're all dead. Good. Let's be honest. There was a warrior spirit within you. I see. You finally found it. Chiron! What a dark day for the Chiron! By Gaia's great green fields, it's good to see you. He's alive, but he's angry with me. These last...
I tried to do as you would have done, but
Yes. What you allowed the Branders to do in Tajir. You and I can talk shortly. There are more urgent matters to discuss. I have been much, much worse. Thank you.
Chiron, great wounded healer. It is an honor to meet the owner of such a famous name.
And while we're doing introductions, I see you there, Areon. Nemesis would already have won if not for your knack for keeping mortals alive.
What can I say? It's a calling. We should return to Olympus. Her face does...
Not yet. There's something I need you to do first, Gottmarked. Because I realized what she was up to. Raising Kronos using Titan Icar. I was going to alert the Olympians. I was going to... I just thank the Moirai that someone had... Without her efforts, you would already be dead.
And
Would be
some stuff with Usno comes up later in this as well. Later in this act.
I had
Mainly just the name.
hopes for him. But he spent too much time listening to his own... And Nemesis has been in communication with him. Centaurus charged off into the wild to think. But I fear I need you to steal the sickle of...
What? I thought Kronos' divine tools lost centuries ago. After the whole...
That's what happens to Titan Quest 1. There are certain problems here, but moving on.
Hidden, so it couldn't be misused again. But Nemesis found it. I believe Kronos has been whispering to her through it.
Titan Quest 1 establishes at the end of the first game, although even Immortal Throne kind of goes against it. That was its first expansion, but that the connection between Olympus, between the gods and humans, had been severed. But it was one of those. Fortunately, there are still heroes like you in Titan Quest 1, that hero, that can protect humanity from the monsters. So it's not so bad. Immortal Throne kind of defies that, but there's also an element of, well, it's mainly about just Hades, and maybe he's like the one god who's managed to maintain a connection. So it's like it's just who's left kind of thing. Not sure how you necessarily. Well, Ragnarok is with Norse gods, so it's maybe it's it doesn't apply to them, but still, it is this is technically you have to retcon the original Titan Quest for Titan Quest 2 to be possible, because this does establish it's centuries later. Which, by the way, that's also Terminator 2 technically is impossible, because Terminator 1 does establish the war was over. The machines lost. Okay, like, so long as, crap, I can't remember the mother's name, but so long as she lives, she survives the Terminator in that first movie, then the machines will lose. But they changed that for Terminator 2 to justify, hey, how can we have a sequel? So it's kind of do the same thing here.
Is the single most powerful object. He will need it to be fully empowered if Nemesis wakes him. Without it...
So, if the sickle is kept out of Nemesis' hands, we...
Worth a try, I think. That's the problem. I believe Nemesis has it hidden inside one of her... There's an eternally punished here who knew Nemesis when he was human. Many centuries ago, before she turned... I believe he knows a secret way inside. My problem was that I had no means of turning him back to human form, so I could ask him. But with your die file, it should be trivial. Good. I'll try to address things here in the meantime. And God...
Okay. I also just want to point out, there's a lot of map here. I mean, yeah, he's over here, but... Seems... Yeah, there's that, which actually started back here. But there's a lot going on here, so I will be picking up other and completing other missions, other quests before doing that.
So sorry. I know it's...
Now, fortunately, it seems largely they are non-linear, so we can get away with that. Although there is one that I would like to try rushing to.
I can't believe the brand bearers...
Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm going to just sell all of this. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else to mention. I guess also, with the physical media discussion, is, you still see, like, I just bought a couple CDs. You still see them on sale. You know, like, they are still being printed, they are still available.
Finding Chiron face just turned out to be fun.
At least he seems to live up to the tales. Stealing the sickle of Kronos.
The word "if" is the critical one there, but I feel that our struggle is gaining momentum. The brand bearers are so focused on their vengeance against you that the people there have not forgotten you. Little children play at... I saw a group arguing over whose turn it was to play the champion.
I mean, that's nice to tell me, but it's like, yeah, that's what kids do.
I keep thinking about the new prophecy the Moirai gave you.
I've got it memorized. File in hand, the god-marked steel's power. They save the hungry nymph from blood-soaked waves, but skies grow...
that has already come to pass.
Then, one by one, the punished will be freed, as stolen power pumps through heart and veins, and allies rise against time's destruction. Mortal becomes God, and seeks new revenge.
It does seem as if we're still following it, but there are no clear clues about what to do next. Chiron's plan is the best option we have.
I mean, I don't know that we're kind of doing exactly what it's saying there. Like, you can expect that the game's gonna be ending before too long, because in the whole oh yeah, we got this. The whole, you know, going through the punished one by one. It's like, yeah, that's what I've been doing. Like, the Foreman is another example of that. Now that it has basically been mentioned that Centaurus is following Nemesis, I don't mind saying that, yes, he will also be corrupted by her, and so I'm pretty sure after we defeat him, we do draw the stuff out of him as well. Draw some of her power out of him as well.
I don't know what I'm gonna do without Mikon. Listen. I need you to hunt down and slaughter the Brandbearers. Broke the rules of the Sanctuary. They took my unborn foe's father. The world will be out of balance until they die. Don't you agree?
Yeah, sure.
I recognize the group of Brandbearers that killed him. They've hassled us before on our travels. I can point you toward where they usually make camp. Thank you.
Well, yeah, that's right.
Look, thank you.
Something else I will mention about the I had it and then it immediately leapt out of my mind. Oh yeah, that's right. It was a different thought, but maybe I'll remember it. Am I going through this? You do still see CDs being sold. You do still see records being sold. Far less common, but that niche does still exist. That is still a thing.
Thanks. Very nice of you to let me out. Especially some of the other centaurs here like to play cruel jokes on me. They tease me for being weak. I just wish they hadn't broke my first hunt as an adult. I'm not going to hunt just any. Then I could... Hey, thanks.
I don't remember where all the stuff was that I left on the ground. I think some was still down here. It is niche. Well, the albums certainly are. It is also, I think we're getting it to an interesting place because it occurred to me, like, you don't see cars being sold with CD players, haven't for years, right? But I can believe that we're at the point with these that, yeah, I'll do it. I didn't what was up here.
What? Wait! Don't kill me!
What? I thought you were an innocent beast.
Of course, sir. I got turned into a beast during the fighting here. Then I thought, sir, that maybe life was a... Please don't kill me. I'm sorry for what we did. If you let me go...
As much as I might want to, we can't execute a prisoner who's begging for mercy. We're not brand bearers.
I won't waste it. I'll mark where the treasury stash for... I'll get out of here now. I'm done with the brand.
Not so fast. You can help me clean up...
Yes. All right. Whatever you say.
I can't...
Okay. What occurred to me concerning the CDs is I can believe the people that do collect them, that part of it is like how would they enjoy listening to the CD when they're in their car? Well, what occurred to me is it might not actually be that big a deal because chances are the people that are collecting are also ones that have the disk drive, so they can rip them, put them onto a device, and then just listen to it via Bluetooth. I was like, that's what I'd be doing. Well, that's technically what I do. I just don't listen to it in the car. So it is kind of funny, that situation. I think that's what's going on there. Vinyl, not so much, but I don't think anyone is trying to listen to vinyl in it. Oh yeah, these things. I try and listen to vinyls in cars. I will explain about this. That's why I'm leaving that one there. But let's start with this guy.
I shouldn't be making such a scene over a... That is, until someone ruined it.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I am a scroll of the muse Cleo, but who is this? Another avid lover of current events from near and far, told through... Fantastic! Then an ancient flame, long thought eternal, flickers in the heavens.
And that's where she stops.
Well, 4 pieces of me have been ripped out.
If you find sections of her scroll somewhere, bring them back.
You again! Did you manage to gather any... there now. What would you... Once he turned without rest. Now his bindings tremble.
Interesting. Something big.
Yes, but what makes a tale like this truly interesting? Smoke over the clouds of Tajir.
This scroll really gets into reporting the weather at Tajir.
He who defied the Thunderer is still at last. The wheel rolled.
The wheel? That's Ixion.
Of course the Thunderer is Zeus. I even said it with a deep rumble.
Was this? Okay, didn't realize there was still one left. I'll find that one. But yeah, so the kin figurines. There is a thing that you turn these in at, and it like just spawns enemies for you to beat and it collectively builds up. The thing is, not all of them could be collected, which is a real pain because I've already cleared the entire map on the other character. So yeah, that's gonna take a while. There, but here, I mean, fortunately, it's just I'll go over and pick, and should be able to pick them all up now. Yeah, this is like actually out of the sanctuary. I just want to try to find that last one. And that's probably where I'll be done. Yeah, I mean, it's continuing with physical media stuff. I don't know what the future is with physical media. I mean, aside from, like, technically, I do think Blu-ray is probably going to be the last, because you'd have to go to something that would be ultraviolet based. I just don't see the need being there for that when we can just go to better codecs to solve storage problems there and quality problems there. I don't think that we will see them be replaced by like SD or micro SD cards, because you'd have to use something like a micro SD, something that would be standard like that. Yeah. But it is, those are going to be more expensive. Because how Blu-rays and DVDs and such work is it's the correct kind of plastic, sure, but it is a plastic that is literally just, it has the data pressed onto it, and then you get a reflective layer put on top of that to make sure that the layer bounces back. That's it. They are very cheap to produce. So, yeah, I mean, it's like, there's probably more expense. I don't know for certain, but I believe that it is more expensive to make the case and put the discs in the case, especially with also with the printing of the sleeve, having that put in. That probably costs more than the Blu-ray itself or the DVD. So yeah, it's. You know what? No, I will go a little bit further out that way. Hopefully finding a... Well, I can also go that way. Okay. I know what I'm going to do after I turn this in.
You again! Did you manage to gather any of my... Yes,
I feel so... Now, what? The mortal who ended the endless torment walks among us. Lauded...
So, wait, this is a story about...
Ah! I didn't realize you were my order.
I bet it was some brand bearer who ripped those scroll sections out. But as for me, I can't wait to hear what you do next.
Yes! Continue your feats of heroism. They make for such fabulous retelling.
I'll sell this stuff. And then I just want to make sure there's had been a gate here. I want to make sure that's open. So that way I have both ways. And I do want to take, well, actually no, I'll probably take this way because the thing I want to do is like right here. Like the thing I want to rush to is right there. But still I want to check on that gate. Yeah, I don't, it's hard to predict what the cultural situation is going to be with physical media. It really is. Because I do suspect that, okay. As Hollywood is approaching its collapse, one of the issues there is, like with Warner being bought by Paramount, that's going to concentrate a lot of IP in one place. And here's the thing. Paramount and Netflix, if they had bought it, they're not buying it. Part of the reason why they're buying it is to lock down the IP that they're then not going to use. It's literally going to be a, like, yeah, we got the Maltese Falcon now, so we can use that to get loans on. Okay? That may sound stupid, but I legitimately do believe that's part of what's going on. Because they're not using these IP. They're just sitting on them. And that I see as a problem. So you may see as Hollywood collapses, if the companies are allowed to be constantly bought up instead of going bankrupt so the IP gets sold, that you could end up seeing some stuff disappear, including from streaming. Because, like, why should we have, 500 terabytes of storage when we could do 400 terabytes of storage? Yeah, it's 100 terabytes of movies we're not going to keep, but, who really cares? Because people at these companies don't care. It's like, yeah, it's a classic. People want to be able to watch this, but, I mean, it doesn't really matter, does it? So I do think that we might see the pendulum swing to increase the amount of physical media that people are purchasing. I do think that's possible. But I don't know. I don't know for certain. And it's because it does seem like there is a growing cultural interest in physical media, in not being dependent on subscriptions to watch your stuff because stuff disappears. And also, I do wonder if people are going to start noticing the whole, wait a minute, I barely use this subscription. And it gives me access to a lot of stuff, most of which I'm never going to watch. Why am I watching? Why am I paying for it? Versus just, I want this movie. I want this television show. I'm going to buy that and be able to watch that whenever I want. I don't need to worry about a license expiring. I don't need to worry about being taken away. None of that. And also, that just happened as well. Sony just, I think it was Sony, just removed a bunch of movies that people had purchased, except they're saying, oh, well, no, it's not purchased. You just bought a temporary license that we now have to revoke. I do think that we will see more people wake up to that. The question is, will it be on a full cultural scale? If it is on a full cultural scale, then you will see such a drive then for the physical media, Blu-rays, DVDs, and such. And I'm lumping UHD Blu-rays in with Blu-rays because mechanically they're the same. I do think you will see, if that ends up growing enough, then you will see a resurgence of, like, Sony and such manufacturing the drives so that people can watch them on, can connect them to their computers to whatever purpose, can watch them, the players, so they can watch them instead of just relying on streaming services. It's like, things like that. We might see that happen. It's just hard to say. It is a difficult prediction to make because it's hard to get cultural stuff like that. But at least I do believe the Warner Archive model, that is something that hopefully Paramount doesn't shut that down. But that is something that I do think will prove itself successful as time continues. But it is just video games, because of the constant updates and because of how many things are just never available and never will be available on physical media. It's I think the best we might be able to hope for is that Sony will offer a physical, the ability to plug a physical drive into a future PlayStation in order to then let you play your media, and what discs might exist, because as I said, a publisher could still decide to make up the discs to then install that and well, to be able to then play off that disc. I think that's the best case scenario, because it's I don't think that they will change course. I really don't. They might, but I just think it's doubtful. Because there are enough. I mean, what is the situation? I don't actually know what the situation is for the Xbox Series X and S, which part of how they differs, the X has a drive. The S does not. The X is also more powerful. That's complicating things a lot. But would Sony decide to do that? Or would they have it be one with a drive, one without? Well, if it's going to be one with a drive, one without, it would be a lot cheaper for them. No, it's one model. We can just, here's a USB port so you can plug in a Blu-ray drive, and you're good. That would be so much cheaper, so much more accessible to them. Which is why, if they're going to do, I think that's the solution they would go for. But yeah, it's just, we've gotten the thing we wanted, which is games to be updated, which is games to be expanded. And I'm sorry for anyone that's like, oh, but DLC, it sucks because of how it's nickel and diming us. It's like, yeah, but there's still enough people paying those nickels and dimes that we've proven that that's viable. And even if it's not the nickel and dime, even if it's not the horse armor stuff, it still is. We like the expansions. This is true. This is a true statement. We like those expansions, and that is always going to be applying a pressure that you have to have the data centers, you have to have the servers backing them up. So then it becomes superfluous to have the physical media. So I'm sorry, but indie is an exception to that. But indie, you still see the rate, you still see updates to fix issues. So it's just the pressure there is not going to relent. So yeah, it's for games, digital distribution is guaranteed to be part of the future. Okay, it is definitely going to be there. Physical media, I don't know. It is hard to say. It is hard to say. I think the main thing to look for, and maybe even, it could be interesting if somebody does decide to start a campaign to start asking the question or pressuring even publishers to be like, hey, would you commit? Or would you be willing to? I guess you don't really necessarily want to say commit because no one will do that. Well, maybe a small company would at least say, we'd consider, yes, once it is done, once, we got the Game of the Year edition, there will be no future updates for this, yeah, we'll put it on physical media. If you could get that, if you could get a push for that, and get enough companies, it didn't necessarily have to be massive companies. Like, I don't know if, like, Devolver Digital is not a small publishing company, but it's certainly not one of the bigger ones. But that one, oh crap, I should be remembering more of these. Shiro Games, I know. Arcade Crew. Well, they're smaller, but yeah, if you get the various Embracer Group publishers, if you got them to start saying, yes, we will do this, then I think you would see Sony at least said, okay, yeah, we're going to make sure you can plug in a Blu-ray drive. But the problem is, who's going to be buying those up? Who's going to be buying up those Game of the Year discs? It's collectors. They're a niche. They are. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do with that? I don't know if you'd be able to grow the niche enough, especially when you consider it's a Game of the Year. So you're expecting that to be after, a year after the release. So things have already cooled off. That's not okay, I'll buy this and then share it with a friend. It's like, when I'm done playing, I'm going to give it to someone. No, the person buying that has already played the game digitally. They're buying that to have it on their shelf. Or they waited to buy that and put it on a shelf. yeah, it's. I mean, unless you could somehow get it to be 2 discs, was like one is the original game on the launch version of the game, and then later on there's a game the year second disc. So it's like it doesn't, because none of these games run off the discs, okay, or cartridges anymore. Okay, that ended with the N64 probably. Okay, they're all being to some degree installed onto the system. So yeah, you could put in one disc, it installs, and then you put in the second disc that then puts in all the updates that you could get digitally otherwise. So yeah, it's something else you might be able to push on, though I do also believe it's nonsense. Like, even back then, when the Xbox One was first announced, people have been bringing this up, the whole E3 thing with how they were going to use the DRM where now the game is tied to your account and all that, which would then prevent your ability to share, at least share easily. It was possible to share, but it wasn't that easy. And I remember thinking at the time, with what Microsoft had described for the Xbox One, it's like, that's going to be the future. I remember thinking about them being like, this is what is going to end up happening. This is ultimately how things are going to go. They are ahead of their time, ahead of the curve, and they're getting lambasted for it. But I knew that's what would end up happening, and I've been proven right. But that's when Sony, how do you share your game? It's like you just hand it over instead of going through this long process to like, you gotta connect with the person by friend. And the friend code stuff that Microsoft had, yes, that was lousy. It's like, but they needed to refine the system. It's not that the system was wrong or bad. It needed to be improved. But at that point, yeah, that's Steam can do that now. I will grant I have not used that feature, but it still is. That's one of the arguments I remember people making at the time was that it's like, well, what if somebody doesn't have access to the internet and wants to play their games? And Microsoft very poorly said that's what the 360 is for. Now, to be fair, for the first year or so of a new console, games are coming out for both. So it's not like the 360 dies the moment the Xbox One comes out. But it still is, that's not a healthy response. Because there was also they needed a periodic check-in. And people were like, oh, well, this is horrible. Because, what about all the people in the military that, they don't have access to the internet? It's like, excuse me? I'm sorry, that was one of those things where it's like, that's a really stupid argument to make. Because you're either at a base, which has internet, so you're good, or you're somewhere else where you don't have access to the internet, but you're also being shot at. You're not playing your games there. You're trying to live and keep your friends alive, okay? And it's like, that's what the focus is there. Not that entertainment. Plus, you don't know if you necessarily are going to have the electricity for all that, the television, it's like, all that. That was a bad argument. Now, the possibility of, I think somebody had mentioned at the time, like a nuclear submarine, because you might be on that for extended period of time, and yeah, you don't really have much internet access when you're underwater. It's like, okay, that's not a great many. And there's also, in theory, that can just be you only need to sign in, say, once a month. Because I believe that, yeah, once a month, maybe the submarine will surface such that you can get an internet connection. Or we come up with some other solution in that case. Or you just maybe don't make that a thing. Where it's just, if you have the disc, you're good. I don't. But it still is. This stuff was going to be the future for many years now. I don't know how we can possibly counter that. I don't see how the pendulum can swing back for video games. It's just too many other things have become set. That the disc is optional, digital distribution is not. So yeah, it's at least for the time being, movies are not like that, and television is not like that, which makes me happy because I like my collection. I don't want to have to pay Netflix a dime. I don't want to have to pay Hulu a dime, Disney, any of that. I want to have it on my media. Also, I should acknowledge that over the past couple of weeks, I've been working on, this is for someone else though, videos going through my process for taking media off the discs, processing and putting it on my server. And I'm actually hoping to get that stuff put up shortly, because then I can move on. Because that's a whole nother thing that I do than OCC. And before I move on, I want to move on to the next project for that. I want to wrap this one up. But yeah, fun stuff. And I'm weird, so I actually enjoy doing all that processing, but it still is I'm glad I got all this physical media around me. But it's not games. So I do have some games, but not many. And I think only one of them at this point would actually be able to run off the disc. Because I got the physical Borderlands 2, but that I know would have to be updated. The other is I got Supreme Commander 2. Is that it? I think that's it. I have that on physical media. I think that one might be able to run off the disc. Everything else is older than that, is much older than that, and I don't even know if it would run on Windows kind of situation there. So yeah, it just Windows 10 or 11. So yeah, all right, that has been enough of my blathering. I'm wrapping myself up again. How many times do I wrap myself up? How many times do I give my conclusion? I don't know. But I understand the anger with Sony's decision. I do. But as I also just said in the penultimate conclusion, now this final conclusion again, digital distribution, because of updates, because of DLC, because of expansions, because of all that, digital distribution is guaranteed in the future. It is necessary for the future of games. Physical media is the optional thing. It sucks, but you need to, with physical media, solve the problems that digital distribution solves if you want physical media to continue. That's the way I see it. So either start coming up with those solutions, start applying the pressure in the right places, like going to a publisher and saying, hey, would you do a Game of the Year physical release? Or just a initial physical, well, they wouldn't do an initial physical release because of day one updates, but still, would you do a Game of the Year release? If you could get a campaign doing that, that might be enough to start swaying Sony. But I doubt that campaign would have much success. I'm sorry. It's possible. It is possible. But you would need to go to the right companies. And I mean like the middle-sized companies. Don't bother with EA. Don't bother with Ubisoft. Well, definitely don't bother with Ubisoft. It's got its own problems. Don't go... Well, maybe... Oh, don't go to Embracer Group. If you wanted to go there, go to some of the smaller ones, like Deep Silver, or PlayOn. It's like, go to some of them that they own, that can make these decisions independently from others. You'd go there. Okay, start knocking on those doors kind of thing. Because if you can start getting them to say, at least they consider it, that is where it's like, hey, Sony, look at what we're getting people to do. Look at what we can get to have happen. Maybe you should consider keeping that drive in there then. But I would focus on the small and medium size. And small would be like, I don't know enough about limited run games, but somewhere like that, where it's like they specialize in making this stuff. If they would be like, yeah, we can partner with these places to do Game of the Year Blu-rays. If you can start, for the PlayStation, for the Xbox, whatever, you do that. Reach out to the middle ones. It's like, once you get enough there, the large players like EA, they would, and Activision and such, they would probably then they might just naturally respond to the middle ones being like, you know what, we'll consider this too. Then you go to Sony, then you go to Microsoft. But, oh yeah, that also reminds me with the Microsoft situation and the layoffs and all that. Look, I'm sorry. It sucks people losing their jobs. I also don't care. Let me know when they're chronically employed, then I care. Unemployment on its own is not horrible. The economy expects people to be unemployed. It's the chronic unemployment. That's the danger. That's the problem. But anyway, I'm sorry. I spent way too long chronically unemployed. Okay, I know that situation. It is very different from normal unemployment. So, yeah. But it's also, Microsoft was, they were flush with cash, buying things up, thinking that, oh, this is great, we'll be able to enable this, that, and the other thing. It's like, and like so many other things, they start throwing too much money at problems. And plenty of problems you don't solve with more money, you solve with focus. And money dilutes focus. So, and it's also, they're no longer so flush with cash. So you're seeing, it was a bubble, and it's bursting, and this is causing people to lose those jobs. They're not losing their skills, they're not losing their experience. They're losing their jobs. Those are very different things. So let's see what happens in the next year or two as some of those people decide if they have those skills. Because some of the people that were probably hired up don't have the skills. They were just hired because, hey, we're flush with money. We can do this. Let's start seeing the indie companies like Expedition 33. They all left Ubisoft, made that game. And it's considered one of the best games in recent memory. It's like that. We might see a lot of that happening from these people that are leaving Microsoft. So, well, have been fired from Microsoft. So things will likely turn out fine for them. I hope so. But still, it's like, yeah, they were bloated. A lot of companies during the COVID years bloated because they got an influx of money that they thought, hey, this will maintain. No, it won't. And they started making bad decisions. And now we're seeing the consequences of that. I think it's coincidental that we've got AI. I don't think that AI is going to impact as much. And I've talked about this before. I don't think AI is as much an impact as you may think. I don't think it's truly replacing jobs, because if it's replacing a job, you're probably going to find that, oh, wait, no, we need to hire that person back because they're the ones that will tell us when the AI is doing the job badly. Because plenty of times that's what it's doing. It's doing it badly. So yeah, we are in the midst of a correction, largely from the pandemic, I believe more so than AI. And yeah, that's just what's happening there. Hopefully, as I said, though, we'll get Expedition 34 from another company. I mean, just, metaphorically. I mean, not a sequel not the sequel being from a different company, but yeah, that is what I hope will end up happening, and I think it's reasonable to believe it will. Okay. Now, my blathering is done. I shall see you next week.